Hello everyone. Today I'm back to share another story about San. I hope you'll enjoy the video. Herb. This morning, San began her day with new plans. The early sunlight filtered through the leaves, lighting up the small yard in front of her house. She tied up her hair, rolled up her sleeves, and picked up her old bamboo basket along with a pair of worn-out plastic sandals. Near her home ran a small stream, crystal clear, gently flowing over mossy stones. The villagers said there were plenty of snails there. With a little patience, you could fill a whole basket. Thinking so, San decided to go snail picking to sell them at the market, to earn a bit of money for rice, and maybe a small start while she searched for stable work. She carefully stepped into the cool water, trousers rolled up unevenly, feeling for snails between the rocks. The slippery, cold touch of the shells made her shiver, then laugh softly. It had been so long since she felt this calm, with nothing to worry about but finding each tiny snail. The sound of the stream blended with birdsong, forming a gentle morning melody. Each time she caught a big snail, she let out a small cheer and dropped it into her basket with a satisfying clack. After about an hour, her basket was nearly full. Sitting by the stream, she wiped her hands, looked up at the clear blue sky, and smiled unconsciously. Life was still hard, but this peaceful moment, surrounded by nature, by the soft gurgle of water and the earthy scent of damp soil, made her heart feel light. She thought, maybe today is a good day to start over. Even small things, like gathering snails, were a reminder that she was still alive, still trying every day. Soon her basket overflowed with glossy, plump snails glistening with bubbles. She tied the basket shut and carried it over her shoulder. The path to the market ran alongside the stream, lined with tall grasses still wet with dew. The wind brushed gently against her clothes. With each step, her heart felt lighter. It was as if living here had finally brought her peace. At the market, San chose a small spot near a familiar vegetable stall. She spread out a piece of plastic and carefully poured the snails into a neat, shining pile. Shoppers quickly gathered around, admiring. What fat snails! Must be freshly caught this morning. San smiled politely. Yes, they're from the stream near my house. The water's clean, so they're really fresh and fragrant. The chatter, laughter, and clinking of old weighing scales filled the bustling market. The simple warmth of the scene washed away her memories of darker days. Her snails sold out so quickly she barely had time to rest. In less than an hour, the basket was empty. She counted her money, small notes of 5,000 and 10,000 dong, yet each one felt precious, her sweat, her effort, the start of a new life. Folding them neatly into her pocket, she smiled in quiet satisfaction. Afterward, San stopped by a small drink stall at the market entrance and ordered a glass of iced tea. Sitting on a wooden stool, she listened to the wind rustling the thatched roof, the scent of tea mingling with faint cooking smoke. Watching the people passing by, she recalled her sister-in-law's words. There's a place looking for help. It's just cleaning work, but the pay's stable. You should try. Encouraged, she straightened her blouse and followed the red dirt road toward her potential new job. The shop owner was a middle-aged woman with a kind voice. After hearing San's story, she nodded. You seem gentle and hardworking. Stay and try for a few days. If it goes well, I'll keep you long-term. That simple sentence warmed San's heart. She bowed gratefully, thinking, as long as I can work and provide for myself and my daughter, that's enough. When the sun began to sink behind the mountains, she finally returned home. The stream by her gate still murmured softly, its surface tinted gold by the evening light. She took off her sandals, rinsed her hands in the cool water, and stepped into the yard. Suddenly, a familiar voice called from inside. San. You're back? Startled, she looked up to see Hải, her old friend from her former workplace, standing beside Hung, her husband. San's eyes welled up instantly. Oh my gosh, you two came all the way here, she said, voice trembling with emotion. We heard you've been living alone. We were worried, Hải replied warmly, setting down a basket of fruit and holding San's hand affectionately. The three sat around a small bamboo table in the yard. Tieu San poured tea and offered the sweet cake she had just bought. They chatted about old times, their children, and the hardships they'd each faced. Hung said quietly, "You seem much calmer now. This place really suits you." Tieu San smiled. "Yes, it's peaceful here. I feel lighter. Working, catching snails, selling at the market, it's simple, but it makes me happy." Haica looked around the modest home, eyes soft with concern. "If you ever need help, don't hesitate to tell us. We're like family, you know." Tieu San nodded, her throat tightening with gratitude. It had been so long since she'd had visitors, or heard such warm laughter. Outside, the sunset faded and the wind whispered through the bamboo. The sound of the stream and their laughter blended into a serene, tender harmony. As she walked her friends to the gate, Tieu San stood quietly watching them go. The breeze lifted her hair, and she smiled faintly. Despite the imperfections of life, she felt at peace, because sometimes, love and small, ordinary evenings like this are enough to warm a weary heart. Red Heart. Tieu San walked Haica and Hung all the way to the gate and stood watching their motorcycle disappear down the dusty, sunlit village road. She smiled softly, feeling warm inside. Today had been special, she no longer felt alone, even though life was still full of difficulties. She went back into the house, put the cups away and tidied the small kitchen. The scent of tea lingered in the air, blending with the evening breeze and making the house feel even more peaceful. Tieu San was about to prepare dinner when suddenly the sound of a motorcycle stopping at the gate reached her. She looked up, 2 unknown men got off. One was about 40, tall and thin, wearing a baseball cap, the other was shorter, wearing dark sunglasses and a long coat. They looked like ordinary delivery men, but there was something off in their eyes. One of them said, "Are you Miss Tieu San? Mr. Hung sent you a package." She was slightly surprised. "Hung, he left just now? What did he send?" The man smiled thinly. "He said he forgot to bring it and asked us to deliver it. It's light, please check and sign for it." She hesitated for a few seconds, but since Hung and Haica had just visited, she thought they might actually have forgotten something, so she nodded. The 2 men set down a fairly large cardboard box on the tiled porch. She knelt, took a small knife, and slit the tape. The soft SST of the blade cut through a quiet afternoon, while the 2 men standing behind exchanged glances so quickly she didn't notice. Just as she bent to open the box, a shadow slid up behind her. A rough hand suddenly clamped over her shoulder, and a rag soaked in some pungent substance was pressed hard against her nose and mouth. A sharp, choking smell hit her, making her head swim. Tieu San struggled reflexively, her hand brushing the edge of the table and knocking a glass to the floor. It shattered with a loud clink. She tried to scream, but her throat tightened and her breath grew weak. The world began to spin, the stream, the little house, Haica's smile, everything blurred. Before she lost consciousness, she saw the man in sunglasses lean in and whisper, "Sorry, we were ordered to take her." Then darkness closed in. Her body went limp and collapsed onto the cold floor. The cardboard box lay open, inside were only a few sheets of blank paper and an old phone. The evening wind slipped through the window, making the curtain flutter. The 2 strangers quickly pulled her outside and vanished down the dusty red road as daylight faded. An old truck coughed to life, black smoke billowing out. They hurriedly covered the cargo bed with a tarp. Inside, Tieu San lay motionless, her hair tangled over her shoulders, her face drained of color as if all life had gone out of her. The truck jolted, wheels crushing potholes along the winding dirt road. The yellow glow of distant streetlights faded, replaced by the dark, oppressive silhouettes of the forest. The engine's rumble mixed with the chirring of insects and the wind in the trees, composing an eerie nocturnal symphony. "Drive carefully, don't draw attention," the man in sunglasses rasped. "Don't worry, this road's empty, only snake hunters come through here," the tall thin man replied, spitting beetle out the window. Over an hour later, the vehicle turned onto a narrow path littered with dry leaves and stopped in front of an old wooden house tucked deep in the woods. The little house had a rusted tin roof, a broken window, and the air smelled of dampness and the loud chirp of crickets. They carried Tieu San inside and laid her gently on a wooden pallet in the corner. A dim oil lamp was lit, its faint light casting shadows across her pale but still gentle face. The tall thin man tied her wrists and ankles with a coarse rope. He pulled on the cord to test it, then said, "Sleep. We'll deal with it tomorrow. She's still out, she'll wake in a few hours." The man in sunglasses replied matter-of-factly, pouring liquor from a plastic bottle. "Yeah, they say this drug is strong. When she wakes she won't remember anything. Whatever, our job is to keep her. No questions, no meddling." With that, they pulled out chairs and idly shuffled an old deck of playing cards on the dim porch. The soft slap of cards hitting the table mixed with the crickets and the wind, creating an atmosphere so chilling it was almost suffocating. Inside, Tieu San lay motionless, breathing faintly. The smell of the anesthetic still clung to the rag and her clothes, weighing her down. A stray lock of hair had fallen across her forehead, barely moving with each draft through the cracks. Night deepened. Far away, an owl hooted. In the damp, cold house in the forest, the two kidnappers chatted and laughed as if nothing were wrong, unaware that in a few hours, when Tieu San woke, things would be far more complicated than they imagined. Late afternoon. Sunset poured long, silk-like streaks of orange and gold across the ground. A black car pulled up in front of the little house by the stream. The door opened slightly and the breeze made the thin curtain flutter. Hai stepped out, straightening his shirt cuffs. There was a slight hesitation in his eyes. For days he had wanted to come to see Tieu San but kept holding back. Today, for some unknown reason, a fierce urge pushed him forward. He wanted to tell her everything, to make sure she was safe. "Tieu San," he called softly. There was no answer. Only the sound of the stream and the rustle of wind through the bamboo. He walked into the house and found the door wide open, a cup with tea still at the table, chairs overturned, and a shard of glass rolling on the tiles. A bad feeling ran down his spine. Hai searched the house, his eyes sweeping every corner, calling out a few more times, still no reply. Just as he was about to head back to the car, his gaze paused at the foot of the stairs. Something small glinted there. He bent down and picked it up, a silver necklace with a small heart pendant. He recognized it immediately, the gift he had given Tieu San on her birthday. His hand tightened around it, his heart pounded. "What happened to you? Tieu San?" Without thinking, Hai called her, but only heard the automated message that the number was unreachable. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He forced himself to stay calm and then his phone rang. An unknown number. He answered. A hoarse male voice spoke coldly. "Mr. Hai, is that you? The woman named Tieu San is with us." Hai froze, clutching the phone. "Who are you? What do you want?" A harsh laugh crackled on the line. "No need to know who we are. If you want her alive, bring the money to the old spot in the western woods. 200 million. 1 minute late and she'll be dead." The call ended abruptly. For a moment, Hai stood motionless, eyes wide, throat tight. A chill ran through him. Then his experience and resolve took over. He breathed deeply and immediately called an acquaintance in the police force, his voice low and decisive. "I need urgent help. A kidnapping. The victim's name is Tieu San." After relaying all the information, Hai sat quietly in the car, staring out the window. The little heart pendant still lay in his palm, its silver reflecting the dying light. He clenched it, his eyes flashing with determination. "Wait for me, Tieu San. Wherever you are, I will find you." Without hesitation he started the engine and sped back toward the city. His only thought now was one thing, to prepare the money and get to the rendezvous to save Tieu San at any cost. A faint groan escaped her parched lips. Tieu San slowly regained consciousness, her head spinning, throat burning with thirst. The dim oil lamp cast a weak glow onto the wooden ceiling, revealing the rough rope tightly binding her wrists. She tried to move, each motion sent sharp pain through the raw skin, but she gritted her teeth and endured it. Outside, the two men were still playing cards, their laughter and the clack of cards echoing rhythmically. Holding her breath, she quietly rubbed the rope against the edge of the bed frame until the coarse fibers began to fray. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the rope snapped. Her heart pounded wildly. She quickly untied her legs and crept toward the window. The rusty nail came loose with a squeak, and a gust of cold wind hit her face. She squeezed her body through, her bare feet sinking into the cold, damp earth. Without thinking, she ran, as fast as she could, toward the faint glow of moonlight ahead. But before she could get far, a voice ripped through the night. "Hey! She's escaping!" Panic surged. Tieu San ran harder, branches whipping her face, leaves tangling in her hair. Footsteps thundered behind her, heavy, violent. Within seconds, a rough hand grabbed her shoulder and yanked her backward. She struggled, shouting hoarsely, "Let me go!" A brutal shove sent her crashing to the ground. The tall, thin man snarled, "You've got some nerve, huh?" A harsh slap cracked across her face. Her head spun, blood trickled from her lip. The other man kicked a wooden crate in fury. "Think you can run? You wanna die?" She bowed her head, trembling, tears and blood mixing on her cheeks. She didn't dare scream anymore, only gasped weakly between sobs. The man in sunglasses sighed, tossed his cards aside, and hauled her up. He tied her again, tighter this time. "Try that again and I won't go easy next time. Sit still." They locked the door and went back to their game, voices cold and casual, as if nothing had happened. In the darkness, Tieu San curled up on the floor, her breathing shallow. Pain and fear consumed her, yet deep within her tearful eyes flickered a fragile spark. She hadn't given up. She thought faintly, "Hi, if you knew, you'd come. I have to live. I must live, to see you again." Sirens pierced the night. Police flashlights swept across the trees. Hai burst into the wooden house, heart pounding. The door flew open with a crash, beams of light cutting through the shadows. On the old wooden bed lay Tieu San, her hair disheveled, her face pale, bruises marking her arms and shoulders. "Tieu San!" Hai rushed forward, kneeling beside her. His hand shook as he held hers, voice hoarse with worry. "Can you hear me? Are you all right?" Her eyes fluttered open, weak and blurry. "Hai, is that really you?" He nodded fiercely, tears welling in his eyes. "It's me. You're safe now. I'm sorry. I came too late." At the doorway, the kidnappers stood frozen. One shouted, "You got the money? Hand it over and she walks." Hai remained calm, pulled a bag from his coat, and tossed it toward them. "Here. Now keep your word." They sneered, counting quickly, but before they could react, bright lights flooded the room and a commanding voice roared, "Police! Drop your weapons!" Startled, the men tried to run, but the tactical team stormed in, subduing them within seconds. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed. It was over. Hai stayed by her side, one hand gripping hers, the other gently wiping the blood from her lips. The flashing police lights reflected off his tired face, weary, tense, but filled with relief. "It's over, you're safe now. I'm taking you home." He lifted her carefully into his arms. The night wind blew through her hair, carrying the scent of damp earth and engine smoke. In his embrace, she could hear his heartbeat, steady, warm, and strong. By the time they reached home, dawn was breaking. Hai laid her gently on the bed, cleaned her wounds, and made her a cup of ginger tea. He never left her side. Seeing her fear, he whispered softly, "Don't worry. You're in my house now. No one can hurt you anymore." She nodded faintly, eyes still clouded with shock. Hai looked at her, his chest tightening. The once strong, independent woman was trembling like a child. Without calling anyone for help, he went to the kitchen himself. For the first time, the usually composed CEO cooked, stirring porridge carefully, slicing scallions thinly. He brought it upstairs, sat beside her bed. Come on, eat a little. You need your strength, he said gently, feeding her spoon by spoon. Tieu San looked at him, tears glistening in the steam rising from the bowl. You don't have to. I've already made you worry so much. Hai shook his head, voice low but tender. I want to. Because I truly don't want to lose you ever again. He gazed into her eyes, open and sincere. If you ever struggle again, don't bear it alone. Let me help you, not out of pity, but because I want to be by your side. Tieu San said nothing. Silent tears slipped down her cheeks. She reached for his trembling hand, the hand that had held her through the night, and nodded gently. Outside, the first sunlight streamed through the window, bathing their faces in gold. The storm had passed. And perhaps, from that moment on, what lay between them was no longer distance, but the beginning of something new, gentle, profound, and full of hope.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày mới vui vẻ và hạnh phúc. Hiện tại kênh của mình đang chia sẻ câu chuyện về Lý Tiểu San. Thì hiện tại video mọi người vừa xem kể về tình huống Tiểu San gặp tai nạn và gặp lại Hải, người yêu cũ của Tiểu San. Thì liệu Tiểu San và Hải có đến với nhau hay không? Những khúc mắc ngày xưa liệu có được tháo gỡ? Thì mọi người nhớ đón xem ở video tiếp theo nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video của mình. Rất hy vọng được sự ủng hộ của mọi người để mình có thể kể hơn nhiều câu chuyện hay và hấp dẫn hơn cho mọi người xem. Cảm ơn mọi người đã ủng hộ kênh của mình. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nhé.